So, what I want to talk about today quickly, and I say quickly, meaning no, I'm going to drone on for a while, but I'm going to try to make it fast, at least in my mind, is the idea of the new reality of using vibe coding within your organization by allowing people in the organization to become empowered to take the problems they have in their function, their role, their department, the people that are closest to the problem, to be able to then develop the solution to the problem. I want to use the traditional software development curve that we see here against what's happening with vibe coding today. And then I'm going to do something a little unique, and that is I'm going to interject reality into it. I want to start off with a backdrop when we think about grounding ourselves in traditional software development. What I've put together is this chart, which is a linear process. We're going through different phases. We have the planning phase where we are planning out what we're going to do, what we're going to build, figuring out what the problem is, gathering information, doing some analysis, getting a little bit of front end design put together. Now we know the problem, the solution. In that next phase, we can actually build the solution, do the coding. And then on the back end, we have testing. What are we looking at? We are looking at a nice linear process. This back end testing phase here, where we're looking at what is still where we start here with the code's done, and then we move on to testing, integration testing, deployment, final testing, and we get to that product. General idea, historically, how we've built things out, solutions, business process improvements, configuring existing SaaS applications. It looks like this. When it comes to vibe coding now, I would argue it looks more like this. And first thing you probably can draw your eye to is, and by the way, this says weeks, just considers it each of these 1/12 of whatever time frame you want. But let's just say instead of weeks, this is just percentages. But what you will see here is we're finishing in the same amount of time here as we are finishing on the traditional model here, regardless of what time frame that is in reality. We're still getting done at the same time. And I think we should anchor ourselves in that reality when it comes to vibe coding, that as of today, that is what is happening. Now, spoiler alert, we get later on here. I don't think that's going to happen. Be what the reality is in the future, but that's what the reality is today. So today, what we're doing with vibe coding, all of the videos that you see online, all the pieces and the really cool game-changing technology that you see. The game-changing part of this is this whole first week that we see here. So what happens in that first week in reality? And this is why it is really cool and seems game-changing. And that is, on this first week, we're going from basically having nothing, the 0%, up to a complete sort of core features coded product. A lot of the cool stuff, a lot of the visuals are done. And that's what everybody represents as the full reality of the situation. If you decide to build your own apps, if you decide to try to introduce this type of thing into your organization, especially an enterprise organization, first of all, you're probably just going to get swatted down and said, don't, that ain't happening. But if you get past that, you realize the rest of the reality. And that is, after that first piece is done, all this still has to happen. I'm being generous. I think in reality, what happens is we start the first part of the process. We get somewhere around here. We realize this is hard and we stop doing it. So the rest of the process never happens. We get into this performance optimization and air handling, and we're like, this is just too hard. I think the reality is, if we ground ourselves in reality, we're still making huge gains. First of all, because we are coming into this part of the process and we are building it. I think that we can do ourselves some really big favors on the back end of this process. Take the time to do real requirements gathering, real analysis, and a little bit of design, mock-up, whatever that is, to represent to the stakeholders, which may be us coding it, what it is we're actually building, and does it fit the need? Does it satisfy the requirements? And if the answer is yes, then we take that information well thought out, stick it into the prompt in our vibe coding software, and we can save ourselves some headache and some pain on the back end here by building out something we actually wanted. I think you can actually do things that can shorten the back end of that process. There's a great opportunity there for other groups in the organization to help out, to shorten the length of what we're seeing here. The other thing, I believe that the back end of this is going to shorten as we start to mature, and the companies that are building apps that do this on the front end, that get us to that, call it 70% quicker. It's not a real working app if you can't actually use it in your day to day, just because you can click a button in another page. As we mature out of that, we may get to a point in the not too distant future that we can take everything that these folks have been able to do to get to here, and then actually take this and do the same thing, which means now we can get to a real working error-free app in this time period. As we mature out of the front end, we're going to get to that very quickly in the next 6 to 9 to 12 months. And now we're going to be able to put the technology in the hands of the people that have the problem. We're going to teach people how to do things. We're going to say, let me teach you how to do this in a well thought out process way that can be used across the organization. Once we do that, and we have put together the right people that are looking for the right problems and solving those problems from the place that they live at, once we do that, along with this converging technology of AI, I honestly believe we are going to be able to create things that used to take us way more than 12 weeks. We'll be able to create those things ourselves in the organization with some smart strategy, some smart governance, and we'll be able to do that in a very limited time frame, which means we need to shift the paradigm of how we think about solving problems. We darn better start thinking about who's sitting in those seats. Are they thinking about how they can fix their problems, or are they thinking about how they can move the piece of paper from this pile to that pile? And I think that will change how HR, the paradigm shift of HR, looks for and identifies the next level of talent in the organization too. Hope you enjoyed this. If you disagree with me, love that. Put a comment down below. I would love to have a discourse about it. If you don't disagree with me on this, make sure you head on over to AIMythReimagined.com, and you can pick up a copy of my book there, where I go through and talk through this in detail, department by department within your organization, and how you can actually start the process of analyzing business processes, how AI can improve those, and be smart and efficient and fast about adopting new processes, new mindsets, and new paradigm shifts in your organization. Because if you don't, we all know your competitors are going to.